A private phone vibrates in the dark. It is a line that should not be ringing. On the other end, a voice that has been a digital ghost for months finally breaks its silence. This wasn't a demand for the $1,200,000 reward. It was a cold clinical directive delivered straight to Savannah Guthrie. The caller didn't ask for a negotiation. They gave a location and a final devastating instruction. The recovery of the victim is now your responsibility. While the public was still scanning the desert for a survivor, this secret communication suggests the trajectory has shifted from a search to a discovery site. The man in the mask caught on camera spent exactly 3 minutes and 12 seconds obsessively adjusting the lens. He wasn't hiding his face, he was deleting the street. Every second of that footage suggests a professional extraction. And this new call to Savannah Guthrie claims the final sequence has begun. Why would an abductor break a 3-month silence only to claim the tragedy is already complete? How does a Puma County official end up in a documented clash with Sheriff Chris Nanos for simply assisting the FBI? If the file on Nancy Guthrie is closing, why has the family completely severed ties with the lead investigator? What you are about to see was never supposed to reach you. The record exists. The silence around it was deliberate. The night in February 2026 was recorded in fragments of digital data that point to a surgical strike. Nancy Guthrie was inside her residence, a location the record shows was breached without a single alarm being triggered. The only witness to the arrival of the man in the mask was a pacemaker, a device that recorded the exact moment Nancy Guthrie's heart rate spiked before the digital trail went cold. Every analyst who reviewed the 228 a.m. timestamp focused on what was moving. Nobody stopped to document what was not. That stillness was the first answer. At that exact moment, the physiological data shows a massive surge in Nancy Guthrie's vitals. Then a total orchestrated blackout of every electronic device in the vicinity. There is no evidence of a struggle, only a clinical removal that left Sheriff Chris Nanos searching for a trail that had been professionally erased before the sun rose over Tucson. But if no alarm was tripped, how did the intruder know exactly where to stand? As the digital trail went cold inside the house, the most critical barriers were being built not by the abductor, but by the local leadership handling the aftermath. Savannah Guthrie has reportedly become the target of a communication that reframes every lead in this case. The record shows that Savannah Guthrie has ceased all direct communication with Sheriff Chris Nanos. All updates are now routed through federal agents. This shift suggests that Savannah Guthrie no longer views the local department as a partner in the victim's recovery. Sheriff Chris Nanos remains at the center of a growing administrative storm. His account contains a window that has never been filled regarding the first 96 hours after Nancy Guthrie vanished. No official document explains why Sheriff Chris Nanos kept the FBI at arm's length while he prioritized a private lab in Florida over the expertise at Quantico. The decision by Sheriff Chris Nanos to bypass federal facilities introduces another layer of administrative fog. Forensic experts argue that in a high-stakes timeline, transferring critical evidence across state lines to a private entity rather than utilizing the immediate advanced capabilities of the FBI is highly irregular. This delay in the chain of custody doesn't just waste days. It risks the physical integrity of the only biological clue left behind. If the goal was a rapid resolution for Nancy Guthrie, why choose a path that inherently slows the scientific process down to a crawl? Suzanne Drury, the Pima County assessor, serves as the documented proof of a fractured leadership. After providing technical data to the FBI, Suzanne Drury was subjected to a telephone call from Sheriff Chris Nanos that was described in filings as confrontational. The record suggests that Sheriff Chris Nanos was more concerned with the additional work than the fatal incident itself. Furthermore, the data transferred by Suzanne Drury to the FBI reportedly contained detailed property and tax assessments of the surrounding sectors. If the man in the mask utilized an authorized vehicle or had access to vacant properties along the egress route, that financial data would be the exact map needed to track him. When Sheriff Chris Nanos reacted to this transfer with documented hostility, it raised a chilling question. Was the confrontation truly about a heavy workload? Or was it a reaction to federal agents gaining access to a geographic puzzle the local department wanted to manage on their own terms? What was in the data Suzanne Drury handed over that made the sheriff react with such intensity? The only biological link to the man in the mask is a single hair strand without a root. The record shows a gap that was never officially explained. Kash Patel, Director, FBI. This exclusion of FBI experts during the initial processing of Nancy Guthrie's home remains a primary point of failure. The doorbell footage shows the man in the mask manipulating the camera with a calm, practiced hand. He was not concerned with his identity. He was focused on the curb. The official timeline provides no documented explanation for this specific behavioral anomaly. Morgan Wright, investigative expert, former law enforcement. By obstructing the view of the street, the abductor ensured that his vehicle remained invisible. While Sheriff Chris Nanos speaks of cataloging thousands of hours of video, the most critical minutes of the Nancy Guthrie case were lost before the first patrol car arrived. Could the vehicle have been one that was already authorized to be on those streets? Morgan Wright, with over 40 years of investigative experience, notes that the perpetrator's behavior is inconsistent with a standard criminal. This was a targeted abduction of Nancy Guthrie involving sophisticated tradecraft. Morgan Wright suggests the removal of the camera indicates the abductor was operating with a specific egress route in mind. The behavioral pattern of the silence is equally telling. In most cases, a Mullen $200,000 reward creates immediate fractures, but here the record remains blank. Morgan Wright implies that the predator, who took Nancy Guthrie, either operates in total isolation or within an organization where the penalty for speaking outweighs $1 million incentive. If money isn't the motive, what is the ultimate goal of this secret call? The physical reality of the Tucson sector reveals a series of unaccounted time gaps. From the home of Nancy Guthrie to the nearest major highway is a distance of less than 3 miles. Under normal conditions, that distance takes 5 minutes. The record shows a total communication blackout that lasted far longer than the time required for the man in the mask to exit. Automated license plate readers in the Puma County zone show no hits for any vehicle flagged as suspicious in the immediate aftermath of the 228 a.m. spike. The record shows no official filing has accounted for how a vehicle could transport Nancy Guthrie through a high surveillance corridor without being tagged by a single sensor. Did the vehicle ever actually leave the sector, or was it hidden in plain sight? The investigation into Nancy Guthrie is no longer just a search. It is a documented breakdown of a system. A secret call to Savannah Guthrie claiming a discovery site exists. Sheriff Chris Nanos facing perjury charges over a 1982 termination he claimed never happened. A board of supervisors questioning if Sheriff Chris Nanos is qualified for the badge. We are seeing a pattern where the official record is being managed rather than followed. The confrontational call to Suzanne Drury and the exclusion of the FBI suggests a desire for control that has come at a high cost. If the foundation of the investigation is built on a perjury scandal involving Sheriff Chris Nanos, every result is tainted. These details do not exist in isolation. A documented sequence with this structure has appeared before. Coincidence is a word, so is pattern. Only one of them has a documented record. Digital logs confirm that the rootless hair has been in the lab for over 30 days. While the labs haven't given up, the record shows that Sheriff Chris Nanos is already preparing the public for the possibility of a cold case. Every detail in this video came from a filed document, a verified record, or a statement made on the public record. Nothing was added, nothing was invented. What you are left with is only what actually exists, based only on the documented record. Not opinion, not feeling, only what was filed and verified. What does this case look like to you? One sentence. Write it below. Something happened to Nancy Guthrie. The record confirms it. What the record does not confirm is who decided what the record would say. If you want the truth before it gets buried, subscribe right now. Every update, every filed document, and every leak in this investigation will be exposed here the moment it surfaces. You will not find this level of detail anywhere.